Sharon, great to have you on the line. Is there any reason for concern today? Because we're seeing, as you said earlier, we're seeing the market sort of slowing down, prices coming down. What's your take?
Uche, for me, I think there's no reason for concern. The market has been up relatively for the better part of the week. It's expected that there will be a slight pullback, and I think that's just what we're experiencing today. If you look at the volumes that have been done so far, not so much, about 130 million has been done as at the last check, but the number of trades is about 1,900. You will see that gives an indication that there's still a lot of activity, but the profit takers are around. However, the NSE index is being, I wouldn't say distorted by the Dangote cement rise.
Right.
So right now, if you look at the banking sector, which has been a major driver of the market so far, you see that almost all the major banks are going down. First Bank, Diamond Bank, Sky Bank are all going down.
Right. But talking to some traders, I mean, yesterday we were talking about how we're seeing volumes coming down, and we talked about if we can't see maybe the banks going up in terms of price today, we might see the index slipping. What's your take? I mean, in terms of volumes, what are you seeing currently? Are we still going to see volumes coming down today? Give me your opinion.
Yes, the volumes will, I expect that the volumes should still come down today, but it might not be so much. Because there's still, if you look at the percentage gain that the banks have given, for example, there's still so much to be taken. If there's still so much space for volumes to be traded today. So you'd expect that even though the volumes will come down, it might not be as high as it's been from the beginning of the year, but we will still see just a slight drop. I don't expect so much drop in volume.
Very interesting, Sharon. And I mean, I'd love to get your opinion. Do you think we will be able to maintain that 30,000 mark that we passed this week? Do you see us maintaining it today and, you know, during towards the end of this week?
That's a very high call. I don't expect the market to maintain that because if the banking sector starts coming down, then you can be sure that most of the other prices will come down. However, you could see that the consumer goods have started itching up a little. To my own understanding, I would perceive that that's because there's so much to be taken that has been taken from the banks, and people would divest from the banks and come to some other sector, and that's what has driven it. The 30,000 it's going to be a bit difficult, but it's not impossible.
Right. And for you, Sharon, I mean, what is driving sentiment right now? I mean, we just finished talking about inflation numbers which came out today. We're seeing inflation easing. So certainly the macroeconomic picture not so bad. What for you is driving investor sentiment?
For me, that's a good news. If the market always has a way of adjusting for inflation. There's an inverse relationship within the market's index and the inflation rate, because once the inflation goes down, that means interest will go down, and when interest goes down, the bond market yields will naturally drop, and of course once the yields drop there, investors will tend to look towards the stock market, and that would also drive the volume, which also goes down to buttress what I said earlier, that volumes may not drop as much as we expect.
Right. And going forward, I mean, I'd love to get your outlook for the day. I mean, what are some of the stocks you think we should be watching today? Certainly, we talked about the banking sector. We talked about building and material and consumer goods earlier. And you felt, you know, those stocks have started, you know, to sort of step up, though they started slow this year. What's your take?
Well, the banking sector, if you look at the banking sector, I think we should trade carefully, cautiously on the banking sector, because the profit takers, I don't think they're done yet. They would keep pushing the price. There's still so much space for Fidelity, for example, that made over 50%. Even if I'm selling today at 5% down, that will still mean a lot of money for me. But if we look at the real estate, like he did yesterday, USA properties, one might just as well be on the lookout, because even this morning it took a leap.
Right, and Sharon, certainly one sector that I want to ask you about is the insurance sector. I mean, will it emerge a strong player? You said this year we've seen it performing well. Last year it didn't perform that well. Do you see it emerging as a strong player this time around?
For me, the insurance market has done as much as the bank. The banking sector did about 14% from January to date. Insurance, it was followed by insurance that did about 11%. So I would also expect that the profit takers will visit the insurance. It's not likely that the prices will keep going up for the rest of the day.